Good evening once again, and we are just in time to put matters into perspective when you look at matters water and sanitation. They say water is life. So for every 10% that we produce, we create, waste of around 7%. So as we're producing, we also have to look at how we handle that waste. We're going to be giving details as we proceed on the shift. So the bottom-up economic transformation agenda promised at least So tonight, Principal Secretary Water and Sanitation Julius Korir is joining us to discuss the hits and misses of the Water and Sanitation Department as envisioned under better. Good evening once again. I'm Regina Manyara, and this is A Shift. In the audience also, we have the Chief Executive Officer of the headquarters that is hosting us tonight. That is the Kenya Water Institute, flanked by various departmental heads as well as sector managers and across the other three campuses or institutes across the country. Remember, you can also be part of this conversation. You can get us on X at KBC Channel 1. What is your take in regard to matters of water and sanitation? One of our questions that we were asking you is, what is your main source of water at home? What is your main source of water at home? Second question tonight is, do you think we take water harvesting seriously enough? Do you think we take water harvesting seriously enough? And last but not least, why is open defecation still a problem in Kenya? Get us on X at KBC Channel 1, just to remind you that this is A Shift, and today we are at Kewi to discuss matters water. Thank you, Bwana PS, for making time. Thank you very much. Now, let's start off by getting to know how you interact with water on a personal capacity. So, what have you done, on a personal capacity as a consumer to save on water or save consumption?
Thank you, Regina, for this opportunity where we will share with you about the achievements and the projects that are going on in water. I think you've asked a very personal question on what I'm doing on my own capacity on issues of water. I think I practice domestic harvesting. So I've put gutters in my house, both here in Nairobi and also up country. And I'm collecting water from the rains, which contribute to about 40 to 50% of my needs. I've also built a masonry tank, and I'm encouraging my neighbors at home on how to go about it. Even when we realize that also the purchase of a tank is very expensive, we innovated. You dig a hole, then you line it with polythene, and then you cover it nicely, and you're able to store water up to the tune of even 100,000 cubic meters. And that way, for places where modern supply of water is not available, you are able to live long times during the dry season. So those are some of the things that we do. And so maybe it's natural that I'm here now.
Good. I like that you're also doing something that the community is emulating back at home. Water has often been overlooked, so to speak. Water was not considered, water and sanitation. We always have water and irrigation, or water at, the county level. Then we had the municipal council there. Now we find water and sanitation. But when you talk about the essence of water, we are still not getting enough water even where we should. So let's look at the last mile connectivity. So what is the status report on this?
Maybe before I go to giving the status report, I would like first of all to maybe give a background information. As you've rightly said, investments in water for a long time has not been adequate, and that's why we are lagging behind. Then when we were now coming into the new dispensation of the Constitution, our drafters realized that there had to be a more deliberate effort by government, or we had to compel government to be more deliberate in the provision of water. So what was done was, under Article 43, water was made a right to citizen. So which meant that government had to be deliberate, has to invest, and then there are pronouncements under the UN and other Africa, like Africa Agenda, where a certain proportion of the GDP has to be dedicated to water and sanitation. Now, for the purpose of, for the case of Kenya, I think we have the proper grounding. We have put water and sanitation as a right, basic right, yes, to a human being, and that is where we give water to to the citizens, and also making sanitation as a dignity conferment to our people. And so, on the basis of that, after the new constitution, we've been now more deliberate in allocation of resources. Mm-hmm. And at the onset of the constitution, I think the allocation for water was around 2 billion shillings, and that was in 2010. But as we are talking now, the allocation to water has risen to a high of 90 billion. And that's why you're able to see quite a number of projects that have been ongoing in the country. You've heard of Karumeno Dam, which is here in supplying water to Nairobi. The Northern Collector was a product of that effort. Thwake Dam, which you mentioned earlier on, which is also under implementation, and so many other projects. It's only that in this recent last 2-3 years, because of the fiscal space, that high allocation up to 90 billion has declined. Now it's around about 47 billion. But we believe as the economy improves, we will again continue increasing the allocations to water. So that's why there've been a slow delivery of water projects. Mm-hmm. But that notwithstanding, some of the milestones that we've been able to achieve over the last 3 years is that when this administration started, water coverage was at 70%. Now we are at 73%. That means 73% of the population is getting water within reasonable distance. Either within your house or within a kilometer maximum from your home. So 73% of citizens are getting water at that close. We've also expanded sanitation, especially well managed. And this is where now we have, when we talk about sanitation, we say about 93% Kenyans have access to sanitation facilities. However, the proper sewerage is very low. And this was mainly the investments was mainly in the urban centers, the former municipalities. But again, over the last 5 years or so, we've brought in about 17 counties, urban centers, into well-managed sanitation. And that has increased now the well-managed sanitation from around 16% to around 43%.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, with that overview, now let's start off with water. You've said 73% access water at a reasonable distance, if not right at their doorstep. So yes, that leaves around 27. Now let's address the 27. Yeah. As you said, that this is a right. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the pillars or the targets was the last mile connectivity. Mm-hmm. So from where we sit, how are we looking at, and especially with a close look at the Northern Collector Tunnel?
Yeah. Now, the last mile connectivity, again, the drafters of Constitution were very elaborate in their thinking that there are roles that national government will do, and then there are roles that the county governments will do. Now, as national government, we do in water harvesting, cross-county water systems, bulk water treatment and transmission. Then this customer-facing investments will be done by the counties. The last mile connectivity.
That is the counties.
That is the counties. So when you look at the investments we did between 2010 and now, most of it was looking at availing water in bulk to the county designated areas, hoping that now the counties will do the last mile. But our experience has shown us that counties are very slow. They don't have the capacity. So in the last 3 years, we've now changed our approach again as the national government. We're saying, you know, citizens don't know the difference between serikali. Serikali is gatusi, serikali government is government.
Yes.
So we said we are now going to increased investment in the support the counties in the last mile. Right. So like for instance, in the last about 2 years, there's a project under the IDB that we've been doing, which has connected about 630,000 people to water. But because the last mile was limited, we made some savings in that project. Now we are doing the last mile. If the people have been seeing the newspapers over the last 3 or so weeks, we have advertised some in Ugenya, Migori, Uasin Gishu, Nandi, even Kitale. So all those now we are going into the last mile because we want to maximize on the connectivity. But again, we continue to urge the county governments that with a small, because what happens is that they own the water service providers like Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company. It's owned by Nairobi County. So when water comes in, they charge the customers. So we're asking them, dedicate part of that revenue to availing water or expanding the distribution.
Now, we have the urban-rural divide. Currently, statistics opine that 60% rely on expensive water vendors, you know, costing at least 10 times more than piped waters, especially in the slums. From where you sit, what is being done in this regard?
What we've done is that in areas where maybe the informal settlements, for instance, what we do is that we invest in what we call water kiosks, which are run by the county government or the communities themselves. So like in certain places here in Nairobi, because maybe it's not possible to pipe water to every home. So at the designated points within the informal settlement, we do water kiosk. And then we set up a team of the residents around there to man it. And then in the process, they will be able to collect some fee from it and be able to now pay to the water service provider. So those are some of the things that we're doing. In other places, we're also drilling boreholes so that they have dedicated water sources within their environments here. Then for the rural, again, as I said, this is a program that is supposed to be delivered by the county governments. But as I've said earlier, that they have capacity challenges. What we've done is we are now mapping schools around the rural places, and then we are investing in boreholes or abstracting water from springs or water pans. Then as we supply water to the school, you'll find that around the schools there are urban centers that are coming up, centers. So through that we give now water to the communities around there. So we are serving the students, but at the same time also the community. So we install water kiosks, we install last mile connectivity to a few concentrated villages so that they can get water.
So where there are gaps, we are having Kenyans raise concern over private water companies, you know, prioritizing affordability, you know, profits over affordability there. What are you doing to address this?
We have an institution within the ministry called Water Services Regulatory Board, WASREP. This is a body that licenses service providers in the water sector. So, and then we work. So first of all, we license the county water service providers, as I've said, like Nairobi Water and Sanitation Company. Then together with the water service provider, we designate areas where maybe the service provider is not able to supply. So we identify a suitable supplier, then they are taken through the regulatory requirements, and we even set prices for them, so they cannot just set arbitrary prices. The only problem is that at time enforcing is where there is a problem. And because the deficit of water is very high, you'll find that our ability to regulate is also constrained, because now water is urgent, yes, life, and people want it now. They don't want to wait for...
We can't wait for water. Water is life.
Yeah.
We'll be picking up on the next question that I'm going to be asking after we take this quick break then. Is it criminal to be providing water without the right documentation? You will be answering that when we come back. Remember, tonight we're looking at the hits and misses of water and sanitation 2.5 years in, and our conversation is being driven by none other than Principal Secretary in charge of water and sanitation, Julius Korir. We invite your feedback. Get us on X at KBC Channel 1.
Kupitia star 570 hash tunakupa nafasi ya kuchomoka na this beautiful Mazda Demio. Enjoy a beautiful clean semi-leather interior, low mileage, fuel-efficient 1300cc engine, great for personal use and business. Ukitaka kujishindia gari hii, kucheza ni rahisi sana. Chukua simu yako, bonyeza star 570 hash, chagua option 3. And for only 35 shillings, hii gari inaweza kuwa yako. Kumbuka kucheza mara kadhaa, because the more you play, the higher chances of wewe kuwa mshindi.
Mungu ni mwema, asante Mungu. Ile nitakuwa naendesha hivi.
Dial star 570 hash and make this dream car yours.
Cheza Loto Moto.
في الدرك الأسفل من النار ولن تجد لهم نصيرا إلا الذين تابوا وأصلحوا. Yani wewe umefanya uovu, umefanya unafiki, pengine watu ni wanandoa wamekaa muda, wana miaka, mpaka wanawajukumua sambaratisha kwa unafiki wako, kwa uongo wako ulioka sumu yako. Alafu Allah anaelezea kwamba wasipotubia kama innal munafiqina fi darki al-asfali minan nar, watakuwa fi darki al-asfali minan nar, watakuwa katika kina cha chini cha ndani ya moto wa jahannam.
Laqad sadaqa Allahu rasulahu ar-ru'ya bil haqq. I know my life ain't perfect, but I don't have to worry, 'cause I've got all that I need right here in my life.
The world of governance is vast and can be alien to the ordinary man on the street.
Critical issues are going to be discussed.
From white papers to policy positions, it is easier to get lost in the labyrinth of words.
Inside Government takes you to key global metropolis where critical decisions are made and where policies are crafted.
We interview policymakers and senior government officials to highlight and enumerate government policies and projects. We take a deep dive into the underbelly of complex red tape to demystify policies across the country, across the world. Join me, O'Brien Kimani, on Inside Government, only on KBC Channel 1.
Umetenganisha watu, wanandoa, watu uko karibia kashachumbiana, ametuana bado ndoa, umwasambaratisha. Anatuambia kwamba tuseme hivi, Allah anasemaje? Anasema innal munafiqina fi ad-darki al-asfali minan nar walan tajida lahum nasira illa alladhina tabu wa aslahu. Yani wewe umefanya uovu, umefanya unafiki, pengine watu ni wanandoa wamekaa muda, wana miaka, mpaka wanawajukumua sambaratisha kwa unafiki wako, kwa uongo wako ulioka sumu yako. Alafu Allah anaelezea kwamba Wasipotubiwa tu kama innal munafiqina fi darki al-asfali minan nar, watakuwa fi darki al-asfali minan nar, watakuwa katika kina cha chini cha ndani ya moto wa jahannam.
لقد صدق الله رسوله الرؤيا بالحق. I know my life ain't perfect, but I don't have to worry, 'cause I've got all that I need right here in my life.
Back, this is a shift, and before we took a quick breather, we were having a conversation, and the last question was, then should we vet those who vend water to ensure safety? What is your take? Get us on X at KBC Channel 1. This is a shift. Bona PS, now the gaps of the 27%, anyone can actually sell water, vend water. Is there a way to scrutinize who has the capacity and who is actually supplying safe water?
Okay, there are mainly two sources of water. There are those who will drill boreholes, and for them to be able to operate a borehole, they have to be licensed by Water Resources Authority. And by the virtue, and one of the requirements is that the water will be tested to ensure that it meets the standards. Once they meet the standards, the license is given for them to abstract. Then on that one now, you will find process. Now, the water service provider also on another aspect normally have places, locations along the distribution line where bulk water vendors can come in with their bozers, they abstract water, and then they're able to now deliver to the hard to reach places. And for them to be able to access such kind of water, they have the water service provider will have to take them through a process. So those are the requirements, or those are the processes that we subject to the people who do the vending of water.
Do you have the capacity to check on the quality of water?
Well, if the sources are known, especially like boreholes, and as I've said, the vending points under the municipality or the county water vending place, then we can guarantee. But now, when there is scarcity, like during time of drought, at times to verify where the sources are coming from, it becomes a challenge. Yeah.
Now, there's been a proposal to actually subsidize water tariffs for low-income households and regulate vendors. Is this feasible? Is it achievable?
Again, through the Water Service Regulatory Authority, when we are setting prices, we look at the entire society, such that we look at the pricing is in bands. So 0 to around 6 cubic meters, I think, is assumed that these are the people who are from the low income. The tariff there is very low. And so if your consumption is not beyond that capacity, then it is highly subsidized. But now for the heavy consumers, now they go to another tariff band. So that is what happens, so that you don't just, because price discrimination is a problem. How do you discriminate somebody from the other? But we can do that using meters, because if you have a meter at your place and you consume below the threshold, then you will benefit from the low tariff, just the same way the electricity people do. And then if you now go beyond a certain level, then
Now, the water sector has been dogged by, scandals and graft. For example, the Itare Dam, where 28 billion shillings was lost. That eroded trust. How are you dealing with this from a both investor and, public point of view?
I think what I want to say is that on the Itare, you see, at times what is reported is not what is on reality.
Right.
I've had the opportunity since I came in to look through the documents, and also going by what the court ruled was that no impropriety of money was experienced. But now, because this was money that was coming in from donors, and when they had such allegations, they walk away. We are now in the process of reviving the project.
Right.
We are talking to the same development partner that was supporting us, and they have agreed. So we are in the process of, I believe before the end of this year, works will resume, so that now we can complete that project. I think what I would want to urge Kenyans is that allegations will always be made. And at times you find this business rivalry. Maybe a certain rival got a lucrative business deal with government, and the only way to derail them is maybe to pass allegations. So what we've done also as a ministry is that we have instituted very strict procurement processes, and then we've also gone and said, how do we win the confidence of investors? One is to now make water attractive to private investors. So we've amended the law, Water Act 2023, amendment of 2024, sorry, and that one now has made it expressly, it is given a provision that PPPs, private sector, can invest in water. And as we are talking, as a result of that, we are now processing about 6 PPP projects. One for Lamu desalination project, which will abstract seawater, treat and then distribute to water to people. We have an investor who is coming in to invest in boreholes, the high-yielding boreholes in Sabaki, to supply additional water to Malindi, Watamu, Kilifi, and also North Coast, Mombasa. So you can see, because of that action alone, now investors have confidence to come into the country. We have another investor that we are developing a project for them to supply water to SEZ Naivasha. And so you can see, because of the making sure that the law is very clear, the policy is very clear, investors are coming. Yeah.
Now, on that particular point of transparency, you know, and wooing investors, there's also been called to have all water projects contracts online. Is this something that you're exploring, or is it being done, you know, for transparency purposes?
It's a requirement. It's a policy directive from the presidency that when we award a project, then the contract is supposed to be put into the PPRA website, and that one we comply as a ministry.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, also, one of the programs that was introduced to tackle graft was a Maji Voice program. This was introduced in March 2023. What is the status report, and has it met its objective?
I think that is a private-led initiative,
yes,
and again, being open to people to scrutinize what we do. I believe they have not given us any report, because I think maybe during their course of work, they have not seen anything improper within the water sector. But we are open to such kind of scrutiny, so that we can give confidence first to investors and also to the Kenyans who are expecting us to deliver. Like as we are talking now, we've just now commissioned what we call it audit committee. This is, I think, one of the very few ministries now that has private sector who are part of members who will be looking at our audits and just checking through that we are doing the right thing. So we as a ministry, we're very open to being open, because the only way to increase transparency and confidence, and also remove the perception that wrong things do happen, is to be open.
All right.
Yeah.
Now let's focus on matters of pollution. Now, reports from NEMA indicate some factories dump toxins into rivers, you know, either the Nairobi River or even the Athi River, just to mention but are the few. What are you doing in this regard?
I think over the last 3 years or so, as we are approaching to complete Thwake Dam, I think concern has been with the pollution that is happening along Nairobi River, what are we doing as government? I believe you've heard the government set up Nairobi Rivers Commission, which I am a member of the commission. When last year, we quickly put a team of technical experts from the ministry. We also had some expertise from China and other places, and we were tasked to come up with a master plan on how to improve the water in the river or Nairobi rivers. So we quickly put that team together. We've designed, we have finalized, and I think if you recall, about 3 weeks ago, the president was commissioning the Nairobi Rivers Regeneration Project. Now, within this project, we are transforming Nairobi River into be the front of Nairobi, where people can go and have leisure walk, have activities that are recreational. So we will deepen the river, we will expand, line it with concrete, create water cleaning, that is water ponds, to slow the water so that the water can be self-cleaning. There are some places where we'll put also reeds, because reeds are the best way of absorbing toxins and all that. And then along the banks on both sides of the rivers, we are putting a 12-meter diameter sewer line, which will intercept all the dirt from all the city and divert it all the way to Ruai, where the treatment plant. We'll also put about 17 decentralized treatment sections where we, like especially near the informal settlement, the sewer from such places will be diverted there, pre-treated, and when it is safe, then it is put into the main transmission line to go to Ruai to complete the treatment. We'll also, under the same, provide places where people can do sorting, because we also want to create industries around it. So young people will be going there to sort waste, and then now those that can be recycled will be recycled. Yeah.
Now, PS, on that particular plan, especially on Nairobi water, let's play it against the current statistics. It indicates that urban areas, at least 35% of Nairobi's sewage is untreated, you know, and it is one of the main causes of contamination, and we are focusing on Nairobi River. We are creating that, you said how many diameter? 12? 12. Yeah.
Which will now transmit
all the way to Ruai.
So that now even floods will not be able to spill and go into the river.
Into the river.
Yeah.
But then we're also having a pertinent issue is that 35% of Nairobi sewage is untreated. Where is the challenge? You know, where is the missing gap in all this?
Well, I don't think it is. I think what was meant was that it's supposed to be, it was 35, and that is an old report of
so
Nairobi.
What's the status
covered.
report?
As we are talking, is about 66. Actually, Nairobi is a place that has got the highest sanitation coverage.
Right.
That 66% of the residents have access to a good form of sanitation. Then the rest are either using septic tanks, which are emptied and then taken to the disposal places. We have two projects that are going on in Nairobi. One funded under the French government, the other one funded under the Africa Development Bank. And this, we are now focusing on the informal settlements, where, like right at the moment, we are doing Ruiru, we are doing Ruai, we are doing even Dandora and other places where we are connecting them to sewage. And this has been very successful, especially on the Ruai area and Ruiru, because now streets which were before, during rain, because the septic tanks would fill and they spill to the road. Right now, those people are connected to the sewer. Right. And we hope that in another, by 2030, Nairobi should be fully covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Ruai. Now, concerns have been raised by residents of Ruai over the sewer plant posing a health hazard due to the methane gas, that is emanates from there. What are you doing about that?
On that one, we've expanded, first of all. We think, this facility was meant to treat about 350,000 cubic meters per day. Now we are generating over 700. So over the last few years, like now, we've expanded 2 more bonds, and then another 2 are coming in. And with that now, we will have, the waste will have sufficient time to be degraded so that it becomes and cleaned before it is released into the river. The other thing also is that we are now exploring modern ways of waste disposal, which will harvest that methane. It can be used for heating and other things, and then so we are now looking for a new technology. I believe Nairobi County also is exploring waste to energy plant to be able to handle the Dandora dam site, because that is also another source of a lot of pollution into the river Nairobi. Right. And we believe, I think in another 2 years or so, there is a private proponent that has shown interest in putting together that waste to energy plant. So I think the urgency to clean Nairobi River, reduce pollution, is in earnest, and is because from early next year we will start impounding water in Thwake, and we cannot afford that to get there.
All right. Yeah. Now that you've mentioned Thwake has been one of those projects that has, it was considered a flagship project, and I still believe it is, but it has faced a lot of delays. Yeah, maybe you can just give us, in a nutshell, where are we at, and when are we going to see, it meet its objective?
Okay. Where we are at the moment is we are 94% complete. The dam wall is complete. What is remaining now is the concreting to now waterproof it so that it cannot allow water, because it's a rock-filled dam. If it is left the way it is, water will seep through. Right. So now we are concreting, which was part of the engineering designs, and we will start we completed the wall in, I think it was 18th of June last year, and dam safety experts instructed us to wait until the wall fully settles, and they gave us the parameters. The measure of the same was done in January, end of January, and now we have told it has settled completely, and we've been given the green light to start the concreting. So the contractor has been given instructions. They have come up with a new work plan, and we'll start concreting anytime this month, so that by August we will have completed the concreting. Then we install the gates, and then we start impounding water. Hopefully by the short rains of December, we will start.
Thwake will be up and running.
Will be up and running.
That will be welcome news, given the delay of around 4-5 years, so to speak. Yeah. Now, let's hear from the members of the public. Tonight, we are hosting Julius Korir, who is the Principal Secretary in charge of water and sanitation. We had several questions that we had posed to you on our various social media platforms, including right here. I had mentioned it when we were starting. One of the questions was, what is your main source of water at home? Water harvesting seriously? And last but not least, why do you think we still have Kenyans, some parts of the county, practicing open defecation? Here's what Kenyans had to say, and this is our feedback. Teresa Mutai was across the country and compiled the following feedback that we're going to be playing for you at home, as well as the PS here at the Kenya Water Institute. Let's have a listen.
What is the water situation within the country? Is safe and clean drinking water accessible to Kenyans? Let's find out.
I think no, because there are some places in Kenya where there are shortages of water.
We have a lot of water that is lean, especially now, April and March, but the all water utapata imeenda back to the ocean. So Kenya, we have not invested a lot in the water reserved.
Kila mwaka tukipata baraka ya mvua, what happens in Garissa ni kwamba hapa Garissa, and particularly our farmers suffer heavily because of the dams being released upstream. When that happens, the floods completely destroy our farms.
Hapo sisi tunakunywa maji ya borehole. Na hiyo maji ya borehole is a very challenging. Unaona venye kama mvua imenyesha, mvua imenyesha, maji inakuja chafu, huwezi kunywa maji, huwezi pikia. So wakazi wa huko mostly wanatoka wanaenda kununua maji.
Tunatumia tap water. Na ile tap tunatumia maji ya kanjo. Haikuji kila siku, inakuja twice a week. Sasa inabidi unatafuta majerican, mamitungi, madrum, sasa ndio uweze kustore maji. Na sana tunapotumia maji ya tap hata choo ile ya kufurasha tutumii sana. Inabidi kwanza tuna save maji, na kama uko na wageni inabidi naomba choo ya ratini kwa neighbor.
We have water twice a week, and one challenge we're facing is that the water we're getting, the water is not like clean. The water that we fetch ikona vumbi. Once it settles, ukiangalia huku chini unapata it has like something, I don't know kama ni dawa ama nini, but inakaa mchanga.
Tunatumia ya kanjo, na siku hizi hata ikuji, unapata inakuja kwa wiki mara moja, na sometimes niko kazi, napata hata kama saa hii sina maji kwa nyumba.
Saa ingine una hiyo pesa ya kwenda kulipa choo kwa kanjo, so inabidi umekojoa huku hata kwa street, unaona.
Unajua saa hii tunalipa hii choo ya 10. Sasa wangeweka choo ni free, ingekuwa inaeleweka. Juu saa hii unapata si kila mtu anapata 10. Mimi naweza pata 10 lakini mwingine hapati 10. Wakiallow hizo public toilets zikuwe free na kuna mtu wa kumaintain cleanliness hapo ndani, at least unaweza pata hata hakuna haja kuchafua mazingira ovyo ovyo.
Well, now there you have it, PS. Let me just give you a quick summary. There are those who are saying maji ya kanjo only comes twice a week. It's not enough. They're forced to have jerrycans in their homes, and they have to have a pit latrine during that time. They're also talking about they do not quite see there's a lot of water that is wasted during the heavy or rather rainy season. We're not serious about water harvesting. There are those who have said it is too expensive to pay for the county washroom facilities that are strewn across the county level, so they just opt to help themselves where they can. Your responses in that as we continue sampling some of those that you're getting on social media platforms.
Okay, thank you, Regina. I think on the issue of the water harvesting, I would like to urge all of us Kenyans that this is a collective responsibility, and we should all strive to collect as much as possible of the rainwater. For government, what we've done is that we are currently exploring ways to create a fund which we'll be using to harvest the rainwater that we see, floods that normally flood most of our lowlands. And we are making breakthrough, and hopefully within a very short while we will be announcing a big breakthrough.
Maybe you can take this opportunity to tell us what you're looking at in terms of how much this particular project is going to cost us. In the range of?
First of all, maybe let me give you the perspective of the need.
Okay.
We did what we are calling National Water and Sanitation Investment Plan. This is a plan because we wanted to see how much will it take us to achieve 100% coverage, every Kenyan getting water and also sanitation. That plan estimated the cost of investment to 100 billion. 995 billion. That's about 1 trillion shillings. Now, when you look at the allocation under government, I think by that time we'll only manage about 30%. And then when you look at the development partners that are working with us, they can also contribute another 30%. So we have a deficit of 40% where we need to get an innovative way of funding. So one of the innovation is the PPP, which I told you, which we have finalized the act now it is providing. We've also said, how can we change the narrative under the climate adaptation or climate change work, because climate change is water. Climate change crisis is actually water crisis, because of climate change we have long periods of droughts, yes. And when the rains come we have floods. So how then can we convert the development money that is available under the climate change agenda, to help us in tapping that and storing that water? Mm-hmm. So we have what we are calling it climate change adaptation financing plan for water harvest in Kenya. And that one we have initially said for the next 5 years we want just to target 100 billion, which would help us to harvest the water that is flowing by flood. Then going into the future, we're also looking at innovating some of the other regulatory work to be able to create a fund that is able to help us in the to do the water harvesting. So water harvesting is a heavy investment need, and we are now innovating on how we can raise the money to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. I think the other thing, and I could suspect these were residents of Nairobi.
Yes, Nairobi, it seems that they're having a challenge. They've actually gone further to say that they only receive water twice a week.
Actually, this must have been away earlier. I think, as I mentioned earlier, we've just finished 2 projects within Nairobi that have brought collectively 140 million liters per day to Nairobi. We have Karumenu, which is bringing in 70,000 cubic meters per day. And then we have Northern Collector, which is bringing 120 cubic meters per day.
This is additional?
Additional.
Against a consumption of?
Before this project was completed, Nairobi was receiving 500,000 cubic, about 470 actually.
470.
Now we are supplying 700,000 cubic meters against a demand of 900. So we've reduced the deficit by half. Which means, and those of us who are in Nairobi, if you, over the last 4 months, you've been seeing, first of all, the rationing has reduced from 2 days to now, getting water 2 times a week to now about 4 times. And most of the residents in all of Nairobi, for the first time, water now is reaching a place in Kasarani, which is near Tala. And thanks to the project that we're talking about, people along Mombasa Road, Kitengela now are getting water, Mavoko are getting water, Embakasi area, the Nyayo estate, which had a challenge of water for so long, now they're getting water, thanks to the Northern Collector. And places like Langata, places like Karen, they're also getting water. And if you've noticed, and I want to really thank the Nairobi Water Company, because for a long time, the pipelines, because they didn't have water, they didn't know they were dilapidated. But now as you drive along Upper Hill, anywhere else, you'll find pipes just oozing water, and they have done a good job in repairing, so that now we reduce the non-revenue water that could be lost through the breakages. So I think I can say for water in Nairobi, we've reduced significantly the rationing. I think on the issue of sanitation, again, ideally, and again, especially within towns, it's run by counties. And maybe because of failure to maintain them, they thought they undertake what we call PPP, where young people around there are allocated a sanitation facility where they maintain it, and in return they are paid for it, to keeping it clean. So, but ideally it should be free, but again, those are the realities.
Those are the counties.
Yeah.
But then we had a curious case of a strange disease in Kisii, and reports indicated that it was because of open defecation down in Kisii, in those rural areas. What are we doing about this challenge? And how much would it ideally take, for a construction of a decent sanitation facility?
Sanitation becomes a challenge, especially in the rural places. And this is where government is encouraging every homestead to have a pit latrine. Because of the unstructured nature of the rural places, it is very hard to provide proper sewerage facilities. It's only in urban areas that now we are focusing as national government, working with the counties to invest in the emerging towns, because the former municipalities, all of them have sewerages, which we are expanding to cope with the expanding population. But then there are these new towns that are emerging where planning is not proper, and this is where now we are working with the counties to institute proper planning and also invest in sanitation. For rural places, we've urged the county governments, because again, that is where they come in to encourage homesteads, families, to now have a proper sanitation, either pit latrines or even biodigesters or whatever it takes, so that we reduce this menace of contamination from sanitation into the drinking water. Yeah.
Now, there's a question here, and this is a concerned resident from Kisumu. He says, the lake is disappearing. Not only are we dealing with the hyacinth, we also have the plastic menace. Ask the PS. I'm asking the PS. What is your department doing about the plastic situation on Lake Victoria?
Again, okay, this is where the cross, what do you call it? Working with multi-sectoral approach. Issues of pollution is managed by NEMA. For us, ours is reduced pollution caused by sanitation. And I think Kisumu is one of the few towns in Kenya that we are investing heavily in sanitation improvement. As I was there over the weekend, where we were inspecting the works of improving sanitation in Kisumu, which is around 84%. We hope to complete by June this year. But when it comes to the menace of plastics, I think this requires, first of all, awareness and responsibility by the citizens. Throwing plastics, like especially the water bottles, the soda and others, throwing anyhowly is not proper. So first is the discipline by the citizens. Then number two is the counties to provide places, designated places where you can drop these bottles, and then the recycling people can pick it up. Yeah.
We take a quick break, but when we come back, we continue sampling your feedback. Get us on X at KBC Channel 1. My X handle is at Ray Manyara. We have PS in charge of water and sanitation with us tonight, and that is Julius Korir responding to your feedback. A quick breather. We'll be right back. Keep sending that feedback.
Inuka na Loto Moto sasa kwa star 570 hash option ya 4 kuna kashamba juja na nika 50 by 100 worth 1.7 million Kenyan shillings. Na hii si shamba tu, iko kwa prime location, few minutes from Juja town. Stima yako iko ndani, na kama ni development rapid and so promising. Na mambo ya landlord, mwisho wa mwanzo ni hapa. Ukishinda hili shamba tunakuongeza 1 million Kenyan shillings ujijengee nyumba yako kwa shamba yako. Kuinuka na Loto Moto ni kucheza sasa hivi kupitia star 570 hash option ya 4 au register deposit na ucheze sasa hivi kwa www.tushinde.com na ujishindie shamba hili na addition of 1 million Kenyan shillings. Inuka na Loto Moto.
Tasty breakfast just for you. Enjoy.
How special is this done?
Welcome back, and tonight we're looking at water and sanitation, and we've been sampling your feedback. And thank you, keep it coming. I want to sample Halima. She says, I grew up fetching water. I'm still fetching water in my home as a grown-up. When will we get this water that PS is talking about? Yo. Bona PS, what do you tell Halima tonight? Then she says she's from? Let me get that.
Okay.
She's from Mandera, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Halima, for that very good question. I think for Mandera, it depends on where you're coming from. We have an investment in Mandera right now, as we are talking, of about 1.2 billion shillings, where we will be drawing water from River Dawa, treat it, and then distribute it for the entire of Mandera. So if she's from around Mandera town, we will. That one is an issue of. Which will supply water. We've already worked with the county governments to identify the places where they have in dire need. About 150 boreholes are being rehabilitated, and then the balance of 250 will be dug afresh. So again, the criteria is distance, that is population around there. There is no other borehole nearby, and then the capacity of borehole to be able to supply water to a long distance. So for such places as northern Kenya, we have a number of projects that are in the pipeline. We have even, like for Mandera, a place called Taka, of about 1 billion shillings. Again, we are looking at that northern part of the country as a place where we want to accelerate water coverage in those areas. Yeah.
I hope Halima has heard that, and we'll be looking forward to the launch of that. So we also asked our viewers on our social media platforms, that is on X, what is your main source of water at home? What is your main source of water at home? And this is how they responded. Let's have it on screen there. Rainwater accounted for 16.3%. Tap water, courtesy of the county government, at 44.9%. Borehole accounted for 34.7%, while those who participated at 4.1%, they said they get their water from water vendors. What do you have to say about this particular statistic? It points, or rather alludes to the fact that the last mile maybe connectivity is working in some areas.
Actually, I'm glad to see that, because it's sort of now sort of validating what I said earlier, that water coverage is around 73%.
Yes.
So, I think, but our goal is that by 2030, if we are able to lay our hands on the resources that are necessary, we will have every Kenyan connected to water and have reasonable sanitation in their doorstep.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, as we come to a close, there's someone who's raised a query on something that we had put up, or rather some statistics that how can we be in the 21st century and we're still practicing open defecation? So what is the status report? Because looking at the report that I have of around 2024 indicates 15 counties. Is it 15 counties, or have we made inroads to eradicate this? I don't know. It's unhygienic.
Okay.
PS.
I think earlier when we started, I had said that sanitation coverage in the country is around 93%.
93%. That
now,
gives 7.
About 7%.
Right.
Now, those would be in the 15, but I know that number of counties have come down. What we've done is that we've just passed a sanitation policy, which is the very first in Kenya since independence. It is going through approval by Parliament, but that has not stopped us from starting the implementation. And now we have identified about 1 billion shillings to target the open defecation. So we will be working very closely with the county governments in mapping out the areas that this practice is rampant, and then we will work with the communities to compel them to now have containment measures, either pit latrines or any other form of sanitation that will be suitable for them. Yeah. So the sanitation policy, as I've said, being the first one, is I think the first move that is going to address that. Then the next within the sanitation policy also is that we are targeting emerging urban centers, because we realize that because of urbanization, towns are emerging, but nobody's thinking about sanitation.
I like where you've come from, because someone has also questioned about the capacity of the affordable housing projects across the country to have the to sewer. Should we be?
I don't think that we should be concerned. As part of the big use of developing those houses, Ministry of Housing has provided for connection of this infrastructure into the nearby sanitation. When it is far, we work together, and then we come and do the main trunk that takes that connects now the houses to the sewerage facilities. So we are working very closely together as government. Like, for instance, we were in Kisumu the other day. There's about 2,000 units that are nearly complete. We now adjusted our sanitation project that we were doing there to provide a main trunk line to connect those affordable houses to the sewer line. And the same here in Nairobi and other places where affordable houses are happening.
All right.
Yeah.
So we were doing a midterm. So we'd want to know, we're giving you an opportunity. If you were to given an opportunity to give yourself a score on water and sanitation in the last 2.5 years, what percentage would you have?
It's hard to say.
Imagine you freehold, like grade yourself in this exam. We're grading ourselves.
Let me first of all, before I give the grade,
all right.
I will want to point a few things.
All right.
One, over the last 2 years, we've connected over 6 million people to water. And I have examples. I mentioned about the Karumeno. I've talked about the Northern Collector. We have water projects in Migori. We have water projects in Homa Bay, in Siaya, in Nandi, in Trans Nzoia. We have in Meru, we have in Nyeri, we have in Murang'a, we have in Kiambu. That has connected about above 6 million. The same time also, we have also connected about 1.2 million people to sewerage. And again, we have severages that have been completed in Meru, we have in Chuka, we have in Kerugoya, we have in Narok, and these are functional. Towns that didn't have sewerage facilities, they already have. We have several water dams that are completed and water treatment systems that are completed. And that's why when I started, I said we've increased coverage from 70% to now 73%. We've increased sanitation from sewerage from 16% to around 44%. And but overall sanitation is around 60 something percent. So in a nutshell, I think we are above average. We are approaching a B.
We are approaching a B.
If not B.
B of 65 or B of 70? Which B? Because we need to...
B of 69.
Around 69.
Yeah.
We'll be here to check for the next 2.5 years. And
I'm being modest.
And you're being modest. Okay. Yeah. Modesty is good. Thank you very much for making time, Bona PS, and engaging us in this conversation. Yeah. Remember, tonight we have been looking at the hits and misses on water and sanitation in its delivery of better. They are 2.5 years in, and taking us through has been none other than PS in charge. That is Julius Korir there. With the take-homes is that, first of all, when it comes to sanitation, it has to start from the public, and also a multi-sectoral approach when it comes to matters of tackling pollution in the water bodies. Also, there are some of the take-homes on water is that you need to remember that you need to conserve water on an individual capacity. We also want to acknowledge the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Water Institute, that is Lerio Letangule. He has been our host tonight. This is a headquarter. This is a semi-autonomous government department that is charged with also training of professionals in this particular value chain and also offering services at a fee. You've been watching KBC Channel 1. The shift now, I hand you over back to Broadcasting House for normal programming. I'm Regina Manyara.